Welcome back to Talk Pittsburgh. Our book of the month features a number of different stories about an Appalachian town and the people who live there. And I am joined by the book's author, Jolene McIlwain, and the founder of Littsburgh, Rachel Ekstrom-Courage. Thank you both for coming in.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
So tell us, Rachel, about our book of the month.
Sidle Creek by Jolene McIlwain is so good. It's a collection of short stories that will honestly rip your heart out. And it's beautifully written. It's about our region, the flora and fauna and the people of Western PA. And as I was just saying to you before we went on air, it made me cry a lot. It's so beautifully written. Well done, Jolene.
Thank you so much.
So Jolene, tell us about your book. So are they short stories?
Yes, they're 22 short stories, and they're ranging from just a couple pages long to one that's a crime story that's about 30 pages long. So they're across the range, and they're from different perspectives, males and females and little kids and adults.
Well, and I love this too. On the back of the book here, we have one review that says she can write. Not an easy story, but a deeply satisfying one. Tell us how that coincides with what you wrote.
Yeah, so that was by Dorothy Allison, and Dorothy Allison was one of my biggest inspirations for writing. And I had read her book when I was in college, and she had written about difficult relationships between people and small town life. And after I read her book, I thought, I kind of felt like I had permission to write stories about the people that were in my life and the people that had raised me. It's a heavy book. There are some difficult themes and subjects in it, but I wanted to make sure I put out there a fair representation of people from Appalachia, not just the stereotypes and caricatures we sometimes see, but a very large range that is truthful and balanced and more evocative maybe than some of the things we've seen.
So are there towns? Like, do you say where they're based?
Well, I don't really say, but I grew up in Katanning, and it's loosely inspired by my hometown where I was born and raised. So.
And Rachel, tell me why you wanted readers to pick up this book. Why this one?
So the writing is beautiful, but I also really love how she talks about serious issues like mental health, ecology, family relationships in a way that's really delicate and nuanced and emotional, like I said. It's also about the region itself, not just the people, but the flora and fauna, the natural world, the themes of ecology. And I'm a big animal lover, so there's a lot of nature and animals in here. And I felt that she did that so well. And I would love to know a little bit more about the people, but also the nature. Why is nature such an important theme for you?
Oh yeah, tell us more about that.
It's huge. I was an outside girl completely. So, and I didn't read a lot of books, but I would eavesdrop on my neighbors, hiding in like the crepe myrtle and different plants. But I loved to garden, and I've always been a kid that wanted to be outside all the time. It was really helpful for me when I was working on some of these very difficult subjects to sometimes use the metaphors of nature to help explain what people were feeling, or in a scene kind of pan out and show what some of these people were dealing with within their own environment. And the place is struggling. You know, there are environmental crises that happen whenever there's an area where we have, some resource exploitation sometimes. And so I think for me it was important to show the beauty of the place, but show how we've struggled there as well.
Can you give us an example of one of the stories that you wrote about?
So one of the stories I wrote about is actually the most autobiographical one. The rest of the book is purely fiction, but this one was about me, and it was about my 13 weeks on bed rest. I wanted to make sure that I put some stories in there about some things that women deal with, some medical issues like endometriosis and preterm labor. So when I was on bed rest, I was on 13 weeks of bed rest, and it was not a very great time for me, but I rewrote the story to make it a happier version of my bed rest, and so that's the most autobiographical.
Were you on bed rest during the end of your pregnancy?
Yeah.
For 13 weeks?
13 weeks, yes. But my son was born healthy. He's 22 now. He's a scuba diver, and he's perfectly fine. So it all worked out.
But what were some of the emotions that you went through? Because I feel like so many women can relate to going through something like that.
It was a very difficult time, yeah. And I think that's one of the things that I wanted to do with the book. I wanted to talk about post-traumatic stress disorder. I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder related to like a postnatal situation. But I had some of my characters, other characters, males and females, that were dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder in the book. I think it's really important to destigmatize mental illness as well, and show that how people are struggling with that and how they rely on nature to kind of use nature to thrive and get through it and be more resilient. I would lay out under this big oak tree every day to try to, like, since I had to be laying down on bed rest, I laid under the big oak tree in our yard each day to try to get through it, and it helped.
We've covered that quite a bit, actually, about how much we can connect out in nature and how much it can de-stress us.
Yeah.
From all the things that we're going through. So where can people find this book?
I suggest you go to any of your local indie bookstores right here in Pittsburgh. I know that Jolene has done some local events already. You can also find it online. And don't you have an event coming up?
Yes, actually, I'll be doing a book signing at the Katanning News Bookstore in my hometown on Monday from 10 to 2.
Wonderful. And what's next for you?
Well, I'm working on a novel right now.
You
and
are?
Yeah, and some of the characters that are in this collection are actually carryover characters in the novel, so I'm working really hard to get that done, and we'll see what happens. I don't know.
Wonderful. Well, we can't wait to hear all about it when you wrap it up. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
And thank you so much, Rachel, for our June
you.
book.
Well done.